Today we're going to talk about Tales from the Crypt. It's an American series of this season in 93 episodes of 24 minutes, based on the comics created by William M. Gaines and Al Feldstein in the 1950 years. There is no particular story for this series. It's an anthology, so there's no connection between the episodes. It's a new story each time presented by the Crypt Keeper, an animated puppet who kicks off the episode with a background of black humor. The credits of the series are made on a model the size of a miniature golf course. They used scuba diving cameras to film the model, and the part where you go down the stairs is done by computer, and the rest of the crypt is a real set built in the studio. Originally, the series was supposed to be a trilogy of horror movies, but they changed their minds because horror trilogies don't do very well in cinema. So they planned to do only 3 seasons, but given her success she had 7. John Kasser, who did the voice of the Keeper, passed the casting using this voice from the outset, but the business on a daily basis to dub the character forced him to drink lemon juice with honey regularly to soothe his throat pains. And for the first season, he had to play his lines in slow motion to reduce the animations from the puppet's mouth, because the production didn't have the budget for faster movements. He didn't have enough of a puppeteer, and he was also the one who played the character in the cartoon version of the series The Crypto. Kevin Yeager created the Crypt Keeper puppet. He is an expert in animatronics and puppetry. He was also the one who created the Chucky puppet. He even reused the eyes to put them in the Keeper. He also had a hard time choosing a nose for him, and it was Robert Zemeckis who suggested that he should not put one on him to bring it to life. It took 6 puppeteers and 4 just for facial movements. Several well-known films should have been spin-offs of the series, such as Ghost vs. Ghost, but Robert Zemeckis, who really liked the concept, preferred to give it to Peter Jackson to make it an independent film of the series, like Death Suits You So Well by Robert Zemeckis. The latter was shooting the film at the same time as he was in charge of the production of the series, so the film seems to be a long episode from the series. A Night in Hell. Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez should also have been a movie based on the Tales from the Crypt. She used the script to make the film. Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez should also have been a movie based on the Tales from the Crypt. She used the script to make the film Bordello of Blood, but it didn't work as well as A Night in Hell, which was reworked so that the two were not identical. Not all the episodes were not only released in Duration Comics, they also took stories from other comics of the 50s like Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, Crime Suspense Stories, Shock Suspense Stories, and Two-Fisted Tales. All the episodes exist in 2 versions, a party for airing on the more classic American channels where it is censored. They removed the obscene swear words, nudity and gore, and the one broadcast on HBO without any censorship. The last episode of the series is the only anime and also the only one that didn't come out of a comic book, and by the way, this season has been moved. And Weird Science and Weird Fantasy, which had a science fiction theme with a robot named Chrome that has presented the episodes instead of the Keeper, but the sauce didn't take hold and only lasted 10 episodes. Episode 15 of Season 6 was a special episode. It's the only one to have CGI. It was used to bring back the actor and director Alfred Bogart and Alfred Hitchcock, who had been dead for a long time. They used their old film to scan their faces and embed them in mirrors or on mannequins, the episode being shot in 3rd person. The effects are done by Industrial Lights and Magic, who had previously worked with Robert Zemeckis on Forrest Gump. There was almost a game based on the series with unpublished stories and comic book releases, but the project wasn't finalized despite Mike Vosberg, a CGI illustrator, doing a lot of work on it, but all his work was cancelled. The covers of the books that the Crypt Keeper presents at the beginning of the episodes are made from the real illustrations of the comic book covers, which are redrawn with the faces of the actors of the episode, and it is these same comics that were republished in 1970 that gave Richard Donner the envy. Walter Hill, David Giler, Robert Zemeckis, and Joel Silver bring these stories to the screen. The series was released under the title Hollywood Nightmare in Japan because there was hardly anyone who knew the publisher EC Comics and their comic book In the Land of the Rising Sun. The cartoon Tiny Toon made a parody episode on the series. Buster Bunny tells the story of a crypt keeper, and the keeper also made an appearance in Casper's film of 1995. When Dr. Harvey looks at himself in a mirror, he sees successively Clint Eastwood, Rodney Dangerfield, Mel Gibson, and then he sees the keeper who screams like in Edvard Munch's painting. Quite a few famous stars and directors have been in the series and have even directed HBO episodes, leaving them free to do what they wanted as long as they followed the plot of the adapted comics. So here is the list, and if I forget them, put them in because the list is long. Walter Hill, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Will Wheaton, Joe Pantoliano, Robert Patrick, Sherry Rose, Lance Henriksen, Tom Hanks, Michael J. Fox, Bobcat Goldthwait, Michael Ironside, Malcolm McDowell, Amanda Plummer, Anthony LaPaglia, Harry Anderson, Tim Curry, Demi Moore, Whoopi Goldberg, Kirk Douglas, Martin Sheen, Isaac Hayes, Isabella Rossellini, Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, William Sadler, Terry Hatcher, Terry O'Quinn, Katie Seagal, Anthony Michael Hall, Meat Loaf, John Stamos, Priscilla Presley, Robert Nepper. And there have been 3 films adapted from the series. The first one released in 1995, The Devil's Horseman, which is a film by Ernest Dickerson with Billy Zane, William Sadler playing Breaker, and pursued by the Collector. He takes refuge in a hotel, and there a long night of nightmares awaits him. The second film was released in 1996, The Queen of Vampires is a film by Gilbert Adler with Erica Eleniak, Dennis Miller, Chris Sarandon, and Angie Everhart, who play Lilith, accompanied by her fellow vampires. The third film is unreleased in France, Ritual, released in 2002 by Avi Nesher, but it was released unrelated to the series then in 2006 on the DVDs and reappeared The Mentioned Tales from the Crypt. It's a movie with Gabriel Cassius, Tim Curry. It's a story of voodoo curse. Then there are the TV movies of 1991. I already have some. They have led to 2 more film adaptations. The first story, From Beyond the Grave, released in 1972 by Freddie Francis, with Joan Collins and Peter Cushing. The keeper of the crypt tells them how they will die, and the other film is called The Vault of Terror. Roy Ward Baker's 1973 with Dawn Adams, Tom Baker, Michael Craig, and these 5 stories are told in this movie. The series had an adaptation to the cartoon Crypt show. They obviously removed the sex, the gore, and it is very censored. Only the humorous side with monsters, and the episodes end well, not like in the original version of the show. It lasts for 3 seasons in 39 episodes. There was a game show for children, Secrets of the Crypt Keeper, with John Kasser, who takes over the voice of the Crypt Keeper. Took place in 1996 on the American channel, and it was not adapted in France. For the comic books, there are 27 published under this title, but it is included in a series of comics of 46 issues, and the accounts start at number 20 and are republished since the 50s in 1970, and in 2000 I put the Wiki links on the comic book because there is enough to make 12 hours just on. Otherwise, there is the Creepshow series of 2019, which is also an anthology, and which takes the atmosphere of the series. It is adapted from the Creepshow comics themselves, adapted from Stephen King books, which are inspired by comics like Tale from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, exactly like the Tales of the Crypt. Basically, we take the same ones and we start again with an intermediary, in addition Stephen King for this. They also took original stories and other short stories from other fantasy horror authors, all to explain why the 2 series are so close to each other. These 2 adaptations of the same source material, but not by the same people. With original stuff for this new series though. There are action figurines from the cartoon, more accomplished collectible figurines on the live series. There is a pinball machine, t-shirts, pendants, a Halloween mask of course, and the classic posters, photos, and all these small objects available. The theme song was composed by Danny Elfman. Several other well-known composers have participated in the soundtrack of the series, such as James Horner, Cliff Idleman, or David Newman, and many albums have been released. The first is the soundtrack of the series, released in 1991 with an unreleased song sung by the Keeper, who even has a video clip. The second, Have Yourself a Scary Little Christmas, released in 1994, covers Christmas carols parody by The Guardian interspersed with history, and the third was released in 2000, Monsters of Metal. It is a heavy metal album with songs on the theme of horror with intros made by the Keeper. I recall it is the voice of John Kasser. There are well-known bands that have participated like Black Sabbath and Megadeth. It's a classic horror series. It has received many awards and the little extra are all the stars who participated personally. It never really scared me. I was freaking out a lot more in front of X-Files, but it's still fun to watch. Plus all the episodes are available on YouTube. I didn't talk about a reboot as usual. It didn't come to fruition despite that it was to be made by M. Night Shyamalan. The series exists on DVD at home when it is on Blu-ray at our American friends as usual. I'm putting a playlist as usual in description with the videos of my fellow YouTubers who have also made videos about this series. Otherwise don't forget the thumbs, the shares, the subscription and subscribe. Given the stages of the channel, we should be much more. I'll see you in a future video. Bye bye.